Well, it's that time of year again. Thanksgiving, Christmas, a time of thanks, Yuletide. So I went out and watched a movie about evil Nazi scientists. Insert humor here. Overlord. Produced by J.J. Abrams, and once again, he knocks it out of the park. Not only are the heroes, villains, and side characters all painfully human, but he puts you right in the action. This is a horror film, but the first horror is the horror of war. We start on an airplane, and I felt like I was in the plane. Then we go through woods, a village, and eventually end up in, well, I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say I felt like I was there. It was an immersive experience, and it's definitely worth seeing at least once. The effects are phenomenal. Just enough CGI to compensate for stuff that would look a little too obvious if it were model work. And practical sets, practical locales, and practical gore effects. The characters, when they triumphed, when they got hurt, you felt it every time. When the villains triumphed and got hurt, you felt it every time. And a cast, oh my gosh. Our heroes, a bunch of soldiers, they felt like they came out of a comic book. But at the same time, they were so human. I felt like they were based on real people. And of course, there were the Nazis. The best villains anyone could ever come up with, because they were disturbingly real. And real, period. They kind of acted like caricatures, like in the Indiana Jones films. But at the same time, you knew their performance was based on at least some real people. They were that disturbingly believable. Especially this one character who I'm going to refer to as M, for obvious reasons. You'll know him when you see him. And his scenes were disturbing. The way he was so emotionless, even though he was doing horrible, horrible things. And then, of course, there's the head officer who really sold it as a supervillain who's not actually a supervillain. These actors all need special awards. The soldiers, I'm talking US soldiers, by the way, the Nazis, even the side characters, the villagers, they all played their part perfectly. And honestly, I want to see more of everyone who was in this movie in similar works. Because this is how you do an action, horror, sci-fi film right. As for the music, it was very subdued. A bit of punctuation here and there, and some music at the end, and I think a little bit at the beginning. And it didn't oversaturate the production. The music didn't, well, like I said, it didn't overshadow anything. It let the atmosphere speak for itself. Certain scenes were expected because they were seen in the trailer, but they were still quite compelling when you saw them as a whole. I mean, if real soldiers went through half of this stuff, not counting the sci-fi horror element, then yeah, the generation that won World War One was definitely the greatest. I guess all that's all I have. This is where my tongue stops working. I guess that's all I have to say about Overlord. So, this is Metro J signing out and reminding you, uh, Nazis are bad, okay? That was a terrible Mr. Mackey impersonation.